was a freshman in high school, I made the decision to join the speech team. My coach asked why I wanted to join, and for me, the answer was easy. I wanted to prove that someone like me can speak just as clearly and easily as anyone else. You see, I have profound sensorineural hearing loss, and these things on my head, they're cochlear implants, and have been a part of me forever, along with American Sign Language, which is how I communicated throughout the first several years of my life. So to begin, I want to give you a better understanding of how these devices work, voice some of the stereotypes associated with hearing loss and sign language, and finally, we can have a full dialogue about this technology that has made a huge impact on the way I live my life as a deaf person. So to begin, I want to explain to you how the ear works. According to hearinglink.org, sound waves enter the ear canal, vibrate the eardrum, which vibrate three bones called the malleus, incus, and stapes, and then those bones knock on the membrane window of your cochlea, which vibrates hair cells in the cochlea, and that fluid gets taken to the auditory nerve, which gets taken to the brain to translate into sound. The first person to start with the cochlear implant was Alessandro Volta in the 1800s. According to a report published by the American Speech Language Hearing Association, Volta had electrical stimulation of metal rods in the ear canal, which created some sort of auditory sensation. He described the feeling as some kind of cracking, jerking, or bubbling, as if some thick dough was boiling. Not surprisingly, it wasn't an experiment he repeated very often. In 1957, two scientists attached an electrode with an induction coil in the head of a deaf person and transmitted a signal to the electrodes using a radio antenna. That person was able to hear a few chirping sounds and recognize simple words. The modern-day version was invented by William F. House. He surgically implanted the first prototype in 1961, but it was rejected by the patient's body. A longer-lasting model was developed and successfully implanted in 1969. The FDA approved the House cochlear implant in 1984, and it was hailed as the first medical device to replicate a human sense. Now that we have discussed some background information about hearing loss, let's listen to the common misconceptions associated with deafness. So, one I've heard a lot is that deaf people can't talk, read, or drive, according to the Minnesota Department of Human Services. Yeah, we can talk. Most of us just choose not to. Believe it or not, deaf people actually have enhanced peripheral vision. Why do you think emergency vehicles have both sound and lights? Another common misconception that people believe is that sign language is universal. According to the National Institute of Deafness and Other Communication Disorders in 2014, there is no one form of sign language. Take British Sign Language, for example. There's so many different forms of that. There's French Sign Language, German Sign Language, any kind of sign language you can think of. The only way to get through this issue of language diversity is that you need to learn the sign language that's native to the area you were in. So if you're going to England, gotta learn British Sign Language. A third misconception that is often heard is that ASL is based off of English. That is not true either. ASL has its own grammar structure and vocab, just like English does. The official website of the Infant Hearing Program states that grammatical elements of ASL often get overlooked because people don't realize that grammar is included in several components, such as facial expression, pace of signing, and body language. ASL is actually a combination of French Sign Language and gestures created by Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet in 1815. Hopefully you are now understanding what people think of those with a disability like mine, and I want to share with you some of the challenges and struggles that I face in day-to-day life. So, first off, why am I deaf? I've been deaf since birth, and I was born without those hair cells in my cochlea. So when sound travels all the way to the end, to the cochlea, it can't go to the auditory nerve because the hair cells cannot move the fluid in the ear. The cochlear implant has two parts. You have an external part, which is seen as on my ear, and the internal part is surgically inserted by removing a piece of your skull and threading a small wire down in the cochlea, and it bypasses the process of a normal ear. I use an FM system called a Roger pen. Actually, it looks like a pen, and several other accommodations such as closed captions, preferential seating, and now with COVID going around, the clear face masks for my professors so that I can lip read. Teachers wear the RegPen directly around their neck and it connects straight to my implant so I can hear over background noise. It's much easier to understand when teachers have their back to the board and I can't lip read. Both the RegPen that I have and the external processor that I'm currently wearing is the most recent technology as of now. Another fact is, you know how when most babies are starting to learn how to talk, I grew up sighting at the same time I was learning to talk, so that helped develop my communication skills as well. Most babies start out saying by mama or dada, but my first word was up, and I actually said that. I did not sign it. I got my right implant done at 15 months old and my left side done at about 5 or 6 years old, and it failed in December of 2012, where I then got a reimplantation. So over the years, I've endured teasing and questioning looks. I've been asked questions like, can you read? Did they hurt? And my personal favorite, if I touch your head, will I get shocked? When people find out I'm deaf. But in the end, these spices are the reason why I'm standing here today giving this speech. I hope that now you have a glimpse into what my life is like. For me, joining the speech team back in high school was just another thing I wanted to do. An experience that cochlear implants made possible, because I can do things that a hearing person might take for granted, but I know I never will.